Hey folks, welcome back for another Let's Read Druthers. In this episode we're doing the Absurdity Observer, and this issue is number 30, May 2023. Druthers, Truth, Love, Freedom. For anybody that's not familiar with Druthers, it is a Canadian publication. It is free. You just have to pay for shipping, and you can have it sent to your whole neighborhood if you want. It's really cool. And it of course, specializes, if you haven't figured it out, in alternative media, also known as the truth. The objective truth of things. At least that's what they aim to do, as we all should. Nobody's perfect, but we can certainly try to align ourselves with, truth and morality, that's for sure. So, funny thing, before we get going, the April, you might have noticed that we had good news tidbits, no problem there, but the Absurdity Observer got removed. It got deleted by YouTube, unfortunately. So I'm actually in the process of making a video about that video, sort of a banception, if you will. So we're going to figure out why it got banned. Something to do with medical misinformation, right? Which is funny in and of itself, because I'm just sitting here reading a publication. I will say this. I am sharing my opinion on things as I'm going along, and I might refer to the audience and say you, and in a general sense, but it could be easily construed as me giving medical advice. So in the video, I'm not going to spoil it, but in that video that I will post soon, I think I figured it out. I think I was able to determine what it was specifically that I said that flagged that video in the algorithm. Again, I shared in the video that I don't think it's someone behind the controls that was like, ban, I think it was something that I said, a specific word or two, that were put together in a way that flagged something and then got my video deleted. I don't know if there's human involvement anymore or not, or maybe I don't think there would be any human involvement, especially at the first, at the ground level. After that, yeah, if they need to review something, maybe that does go to a human. But regardless, it's going to be a really interesting video, so make sure to watch that one. I'm not sure what I'm going to title it anyway, but it's going to be something to do with Let's Read Druthers, April issue, and Absurdity Observer banned video or something like that. Well, you'll see it, and you won't be able to miss that one. But it should be really interesting, because I'm going to apply a lot of the lessons I learned and the cause, I think, of that banning. I'm going to apply that going forward, so we should be able to dance the line a little bit better here. It's really ridiculous talking about absurdity, that we have to do these kind of things and we can't just speak our mind. It's unbelievable. What has the internet become, It's like we're back on the schoolyard again. There's bullies everywhere. Just like to punch them in the nose. Anyway, no violence, Matt. Stop it. Okay, so let's go to Absurdity Observer, and let's do a little bit of frig dancing, as they'd say on Trailer Park Boys. And make sure that we don't say any bad words. Bad and bunny ears, of course. Where are you, Absurdity Observer? I haven't read all the articles yet, but there's some really interesting ones. Again, I have no affiliation with Druthers. I am just a huge fan. I love any publication, any video, any channel, any whatever that just tries their best to speak the objective truth of things. I think we need more of that. Oh yeah, I forgot, it's on the back. It's the good news tidbits that's in the middle somewhere. Anyway, let's see if we can go through these. Now, I did read these already, so my reaction will not be genuine, unfortunately, but I have forgotten most of this by now. It'll all come back to me as I'm reading, but I did go through them, and I'm gonna have to be very careful with how I say some of this stuff. So bear with me, we'll get through it. I don't want to belabor this video any more than it has to be. I'm going to try to just stick to reading it, and hopefully by reading it, and I'll determine what words are safe, if you will, and which words are not. we'll be able to have our video here in the end. Let's see. So, absurdity, I did it again. I combined the two words. I'm just going to say absurdity from now. No. Absurdity observer. Some of the most absurd things that have happened in recent weeks. And again, this is the May 2003 edition. Page 12, if you've got the publication and you want to read along. After months of denial, the FDA confirms graphene oxide is, in fact, found in the mRNA C19V. Okay, I have to specify here. Now, another thing I determined in my last video when I did that investigation is that just saying C19 in full might be enough to ban your video. Because if it's said in the wrong context, you're either going to get that stupid little thing at the bottom that's telling you, oh, click on this to get the mainstream narrative, or they're just not going to let it go, or it's going to be shadow banned or something. So I'm going to be very careful in what I say, but read between the lines. Anybody who's watching can determine what it is I'm trying to say. And when I'm talking about V, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not talking about V for Vendetta here. I'm talking about something that you put in your body, right? Something that might be potentially experimental, right? That's the V. And C19, of course, you know what that means. Now, is it against YouTube's terms and conditions, policies to not use the word C19 in full? I don't know. Can you even make a video talking about it in general anymore? I don't know. But I'm not going to take a chance and spend all this time making this video to just have it banned, you know. I'll make a video about a video about a video and a video. I don't care. We'll keep going until it makes it through. We'll find a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. So, that said, graphene oxide is in fact found in the mRNA C19V. This information comes from Pfizer documents the FDA attempted to keep confidential and sealed for 75 years. I remember that. The documents were ordered released by the U.S. federal court after a group of scientists and medical researchers sued the FDA under FOIA. The study released by the FDA as 125742_S1_M4_4.2.1 VR-VTR 10741.PD, in case you needed all that, noted that graphene oxide is indeed used in the manufacturing process as it is the vital component needed to stabilize the V's lipid nanoparticles. Can you not say the goddamn word vaccine anymore? Am I seriously going to get the video banned just by saying vaccine? I don't think I'm going to say V, okay? I'll say C19, but I'm not saying V. We're allowed to talk about vaccines on YouTube. Anyway, this is all out in the open. There should be no reason to ban this video because, first of all, I'm reading a publication, okay? I'm just reading to you what's on this publication. I am sharing my opinion, as I said, but that's not enough to have a video banned. Come on. So, graphene oxide has been found in the vaccines. Big freaking surprise, right? Everybody knew there was something weird in it. There was tests that were being done. No surprise there. It's out in the open. Pfizer, FDA, none of them can deny it anymore. It's right there. The findings are there. Now, before I keep going, I just need to say one quick little disclaimer, okay? I'm reading Druthers assuming that they've sourced correct information. This is not gospel to me. This is not truth, absolute, you know? It's just, I trust these guys more, right? A small, independent publication. Some might say alternative. I trust them more than these giant news mainstream corporations. Now, isn't that backwards? Wouldn't the small time ones be more likely to be corrupt? Like, I know that's not the case. We're not even close to that in our day and age. But it just seems counterintuitive to me. Like the smaller ones should be many, you should have many more of those, and there would be in their numbers more likely to be corrupt and just to lie, to just try and get bigger. When you reach the top and you're this global corporation or national corporation, and you're just a puppet for the government or, for the mainstream narrative, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm going to say that a lot in this this column, in this playlist. Let's keep going. That one kind of spoke for itself. I've said enough, and I don't want to make this video too long. So, Canada gives Volkswagen over $13 billion. This one was rich. In the biggest corporate welfare payout in modern Canadian history, a Canadian government bailing out of a German company. The federal government has pledged $13 billion in grants and subsidies for Volkswagen to build Canada's largest EV battery plant in St. Thomas, Ontario. The government claims that 3,000 direct jobs and 30,000 indirect jobs will be created as a result. Wow! No downsides? How did they do it? Must be fucking bullshit. And of course it is. There's always a hidden agenda there. There's always something else going on in the name of money, in the pursuit of just money and power and greed. You can't trust them anymore. You can't trust a thing they say. CBC, another perfect establishment, right? Upstanding newscasters over at CBC. CBC tweeted that they are less than 70% government funded after social media giant Twitter labeled their account government-funded media. CBC reported a measly $1.24 billion in government funding in its 2021-2022 annual report. So that's just on the books, right? We're less than 70% government funded. Like, that's something to brag about. Oh, we're only less than 70%. They only give us $1.24 billion. That's all. Pocket change. Yeah. That's funny. France. Oh my gosh, France. My heart goes out to you. The people of France, not the corporation. There are so many good-hearted, rebellious people that just want freedom. They just want basic human rights, And the French don't take shit. And I love that about them. I love that about myself. And I've really come to the conclusion recently that, the part of me that's rebellious is definitely stems from my French ancestry. I'm sure of it. Because when I see them in their millions marching down the streets in these videos, wow, there's really nothing more powerful than that. It's inspirational, and we should really look to these other countries to know what to do and how to do it, and to really not sit on our hands and just wait for a better day. Sometimes you gotta take to the streets, and you gotta force some action, because it's not just gonna fall in your lap. According to the Ontario Mathematics Coordinators Association, OMCA, the phrase 2.2 plus 2 equals 4 is a form of covert white supremacy. This comes from OMCA President Jason Toe, who also serves as the coordinator of secondary mathematics at Toronto District School Board, the largest and most influential public education body in the country. Toe has publicly expressed a desire to transform kids into co-conspirators capable of fighting white supremacy and colonialism. Very strange. That's not the first time I've seen weird stuff lately about mathematics specifically. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a form of covert white supremacy. So that means that equation needs to be stricken from the records and never used again, right? It's like not having a 13th floor, and that's about what it equates to. Absolute rubbish. Next one here. A terminally ill woman in Alberta has been denied a place on an organ transplant list. This was really sad because she is not vaccinated against C19. As reported by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, Sheila Annette Lewis, who is terminally ill with the idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, has been denied the life-saving surgery even though she provided an independent medical report showing that she has natural immunity. What other proof are you supposed to provide? She went out of her way to show that she has natural immunity against C19, and yet she was still denied. Have a heart. That's just cruel. It really makes me sad to read those kind of things, but it needs to be out there. People need to know. Research that one and see if that lady is okay, if she's still with us. Despite the enormous amount of adverse effects associated with the vaccine, California Bill AB 659 aims to require public college students under 26 to receive the HPV vaccine in order to attend college. Besides the temporary requirement of C19 vaccines, this would be the first time an adult would be required to take a vaccine in order to gain entry to a North American college. I really hope that's not a sign of things to come, because that's quite deplorable in my opinion, because what does that have to do? What does your medical status have anything to do with your eligibility to be accepted or not into a school, to an education facility? That's sick. It's sick behavior. That's definitely sick. A new facial biometrics payment system by Yahoo and e-payment from PayPay makes its debut at a convention store in Tokyo. Is that it? Okay, I guess that's kind of weird. Convenience store with facial recognition. I have a feeling a lot more of that is to come. I don't agree with it, but that's probably not going anywhere. The world's first bee vaccine has been approved in the US to help tackle the problem of bees now being highly susceptible to the bacterium Panabacillus larvae. A variety of chemical fungicides and pesticides being sprayed on crops have been discovered to be the trigger of the bee's susceptibility. But instead of removing these toxic chemicals, why would you want to do that? Why not make both the pesticide and the vaccine manufacturers rich, right? Yep, what did I say earlier? Money and power. The two driving forces for most of these corporate agendas. Bud Light, yeah, this one was funny. Bud Light VP defends the brand's decision in making trans influencer and feminization plastic surgery advocate Dylan Mulvaney a spokesperson for the brand by insulting their own customers. In an interview, VP of Marketing Alyssa Hinderscheid stated that the brand is trying to pivot away from being fratty and out of touch. Oh, okay. So they really don't give a crap about trans people. They just want to appear to be on their side, right? That's becoming a trend, as we have seen. Washington State Senate passed a bill, SB 5599, that gives the state the power to take children away from their parents if the parents do not consent to the child's gender transition surgery. That's along the lines of the kids being able to get vaccinated without their parents' permission, having it done at school without the parents' permission or even consent or knowledge. Who do they think they are by trying to control and own our own children? It's messed up. I read something earlier today that was saying, I don't remember the age or if they specified or not, but children now are being given jobs, like 12-year-olds. Like there's no more, child labor, so to speak. I mean, they're not going to let a 7-year-old run the drive-through at McDonald's, but I think it was something like 12-year-olds now are allowed to have employment overnight in some places. And it's like, okay, so they're doing this overnight job at McDonald's or wherever, at this fast food place or wherever it is, it doesn't matter, at a grocery store, it doesn't make it any better. They shouldn't be working like that anyway, but they're working overnight and then going to school during the day. How does that work? And why is that okay? Why did that suddenly, child labor is now okay? Why is getting injected with an experimental vaccine okay against your parents' permission or their will? It's a messed up world, and it's not, I hate to say it, folks, but it ain't getting any better. It's going to be up to us, the few. I shouldn't say the few. We have numbers. That's not the problem. It's how many of us are really willing to go the distance for our cause, to die on this hill. That's really what it comes down to. Because don't kid yourself, the other side, those that are their interests are to oppress and to suppress and to oppose and to keep their foot down on others. They're going to do it with all of their life force. So if we're going to counter this and take over, the other side is going to need to do the same. And you have to be all in at all times. Because what else is worth fighting for if not our freedom? Not too much, because without that we don't have anything. We don't have anything to stand on. We don't have a place to love, to live, to exist. It's official. The NIH did indeed fund gain-of-function coronavirus research at Wuhan lab. Officials no longer have plausible deniability. On April 26th, Judicial Watch announced it received 552 pages of records from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services through a FOIA request. Another FOIA. It's crazy how much of this is surfacing now. We all knew this, the day would come. The documents included the initial grant application and annual reports for the National Institutes of Health, NIH, from EcoHealth Alliance, describing the aim of its work with the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China to create mutant viruses to better predict the capacity of our coronaviruses to infect people. There's not much really to comment on there. It's just, for a lot of us, myself included, it's just stating the obvious. The City of Toronto announces that as of April 1st, 2023, feeding wildlife, this one's great, feeding wildlife will be prohibited across Toronto and on private properties, noting that feeding wildlife can lead to public safety issues. In addition, the city is also limiting the permitted number of guinea pig and rabbit ownership to 4 per household, and is allowing dog owners 24 hours to remove dog waste from their personal property. So that's really exerting a lot of control there on what people can do with their animals, even feeding wildlife. So if you have a bird feeder, look out, you're going to jail. It's so silly. It's prohibited to feed wildlife. I mean, in certain contexts, I would agree, but in the city, where are these animals going to go? Might as well take care of them, help feed them a little bit. I mean, we've displaced them. What are we going to do? Just round them all up and shoot them? Like, there was a nest in town here in Cornwall, Ontario, nearby. And it was a nest of some type of raptor, some type of bird, a predatory bird. I don't remember if it was I don't remember. Anyway, it was a fairly rare bird, not a condor, but something along those lines. And it was on like a lamppost or something like that. So rather than moving it or sedating it or whatever, I think it was like it started to like swoop and dive down at people because they were approaching the nest, and it was in a place, I remember seeing it, and it was in a place that you could have just left them alone. It wasn't really doing anything. If people had just left it alone, it became this big attraction. Everybody was going to see it, and if they had just left it alone, it probably would have been fine. Had it's young, and then they would have flown off, and that would have been the end of it. But they killed it. They didn't think twice. They probably killed the whole family. You know. Here's this bird that's not a common bird. I wish I could remember what type of bird it was, but because it felt threatened, and it just found whatever place it could to make its nest and raise its young, it picked the wrong place because it did it in a city, and that deserves death. You know, doesn't that sum up kind of that world, the legal world? Doesn't that kind of sum up their rationale? It's just cold and soulless and just mechanical. It's like, here's a problem, kill it. That's the solution right away. Kill it. Kill the whole family. You know? Gosh, if the shoe was on the other foot, though. That one pisses me off. Anyway, let's keep going. As reported by Dr. William Mackis, MD, on his Substack, we've reached the milestone of 150 Canadian doctors jabbed and dead since C-19 vaccines first rolled out. I've used a lot of naughty words here. I hope this video is going to be okay. But wow, 150 Canadian doctors dead since the vaccines first rolled out. Meanwhile, the Canadian Medical Association, which continues to push the toxic Pfizer and Moderna mRNA jabs on its own members and encourage the mandates for medical professionals, marked the occasion with a full-page Pfizer ad on the back cover of its own April 2023 issue of Canadian Medical Association Journal. Yep, that says it all. Oxfam erases mother and father in its new language guide. British charity Oxfam released its inclusive language guide, which among other things discourages staff from using the words mother and father across websites, media, and other forms of content. That's fucked up. That's not good. When you can't use words like mother and father, which are things that we're supposed to honor, you know, when those become bad words, when the more highly honorable people, forget about these people that call themselves honorable. You know who I'm referring to. These honorable people, which we know they're anything but. A lot of our mothers and fathers are honorable. And I'm never, ever going to tell myself that by using the words of those honorable people, those actually honorable people, that's a bad word. Never going to convince me of that one, and you're going to have a hard time selling that one to most rational, reasonable people. Okay, let's see. We're almost done here. Members of the Ontario Legislative Assembly are pushing a bill titled the Protecting 2SLGBTQI+. Is there really that many letters now? Good grief. I remember when it was just LG. Communities Act, where offensive remarks would be prohibited within 100 meters of a drag show and could lead to a fine of up to $25,000 for offenders. Wow. Meanwhile, people are getting stabbed. There's gangs running amok on the streets, and there's actual murders and theft happening, and they're worried about offending people and hurting people's feelings. Priorities are backwards. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that the FBI... Okay, I made a video on this one. You might have seen it. This is where it comes from. It's, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 5 paragraphs, 5 bullets from the bottom, on the third column of Absurdity Observer, May 2023. This one is great. It's fantastic. Okay, check this out. You can look at my video too, or maybe I'll put it in the description, but you could probably find this one. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that the FBI have arrested 2 people on charges of operating a secret police station. Oh wait, this is not the one I thought it was. Never mind. There is another one here that you will have seen. Yeah, it's the last one. Sorry. So this is not the one I thought it was. Alright, here's the next one. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that the FBI have arrested 2 people on charges of operating a secret police station in New York City on behalf of China's regime, not unlike the Chinese police stations that have operated across Canada and still are in some cases. I remember seeing that when the protests, the trucker protests were going on, the Freedom Convoy. There were some police there that seemed to be Chinese, if I'm not mistaken. And then there were bases and planes somewhere out west, as I recall. It's a little freaky. What are they doing there? I know Trudeau's a fan of theirs, but like, Atlantic Council has announced that 114 countries representing over 95% of global GDP are now exploring a CBDC, central bank digital currency. A new high of 60 countries are currently in an advanced phase of exploration, development, pilot, or launch, and 11 countries have fully launched a digital currency. Those countries are screwed. You have, okay, let alone, right, fiat currency, which is backed by nothing. Now you've got the digital equivalent, a centralized digital equivalent of nothing. Oh boy, that is not going to end well. That's a story that does not have a happy ending, I can guarantee it. And those of us on this side of the fence need to be very careful at what we subscribe to or invest or put our names on, our signatures on, because once you go here, there ain't going back. There's no going back to fiat currency. So kind of the lesser of two evils here, but at the same time, as we've discussed on the channel many times, there's other ways of doing things that don't involve either one of those. 2/3 of occupations across America could be partially automated by an artificial intelligence, Goldman Sachs economists have warned. In a report published on April 5th, economists Joseph Briggs and Devish Kondnani said that a new wave of AI systems such as ChatGPT could have a major impact on employment markets across the globe, while advances in such technology could trigger shifts in workflows that could expose the equivalent of 300 million full-time jobs to automation across 900 plus different occupations. So that's a lot of just fear-mongering there. There's going to be some negative implications with AI and with ChatGPT, of course, but there's also going to be some benefits that they don't talk about here. Job displacements, but also job creations, because these AIs, these ChatGPT bots, are going to need some maintenance. They're going to need to be run by someone or something somewhere in an actual physical location. So that's not going anywhere. That's the other side of the coin that's not discussed here in all the fear mongering. So yeah, again, I think there are going to be some negative consequences of, increasing AI in our day-to-day and in our business world and in the public, but there's going to be some benefits there too, we can't forget. And quite honestly, I say this to my wife all the time, there's no stopping it, right? It's not like we're going to just stop using tech. We know where the trend is going on that one. So better to get on the good side of it early on. 2 more to go. Home improvement products retailer. This one, be very careful, my friends. Home improvement products retailer Lowe's has introduced surveillance robots that monitor license plates, mobile devices to detect repeat offenders. The 5-foot-tall, 400-pound egg-shaped robots that go by the name K5 have been released in a handful of stores throughout North America. So they've got some type of RoboCop thing going on at Lowe's that records your license plate number and mobile device and looks for repeat offenders of what? Surveillance robots that detect repeat offenders. Are they talking about shoplifting, or are they talking about getting, are they in bed with the government here, and like your license plate is expired and it's going to flag something in the system, and then the government will get a message saying this guy's at Lowe's right now, come and give him a fine or take his vehicle, you know? Where's that going to go? You know, that's what I was saying earlier, is that there's an upside and then there's a downside, as with most things, and that's the ugly side of AI. We have these now, like that big ass robot from RoboCop. I forget what it's called, MiG-29 or something, but it's just standing there waiting for someone to do something wrong, and it's gonna just blow a hole in its head. All right, here's the last one that I was talking about. So I made a video on this one because I just thought it was so funny and absolutely ridiculous, absurd as it were. So check this out. This is the last one. If you use the terms red-pilled, based, which I don't even know what that means, I'm not hip, I guess, looks maxing, I had to look that one up too, and even names like Chad and Stacy. Poor Chad and Stacy. Anybody with those names, feel bad for you. You may be a violent extremist. Hate to break it to you. According to the FBI, as revealed in documents obtained by the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project, the FBI has a secret list of flag terms that it uses internally to indicate an individual's involvement in violent extremism. Sucks to be you, Chad and Stacy. Check out that other video that I made. It was basically just reading those words over and over, just to see what would happen. Because because I use the word red-pilled, based, looks maxing, Chad, Stacy, that makes me more likely to be a violent extremist? Where are they getting this information? What algorithm fucked up where they think that that's actually the case? You know? These are random things put in a way that's like, no, there's a pattern there. No. Chad and Stacy can be violent, yes, but they can also be peaceful. And I think that more often than not, Chads and Stacys are probably not violent. Just like someone that says a red-pilled might not necessarily be a terrorist. But then again, you know, I forget where I saw it recently, but it was something like, or heard it rather, it was something like in a world of the insane. Oh, it was a Super Mario Brothers movie, that little blue thing. In a world of the insane, the sane. I'm gonna George Bush this one. In a world of the insane, the sane are the insane, or something like that. I screwed it up. I knew I was gonna screw it up. Let me just look it up real quick, so I can stop making an ass out of myself. Too late. Oh, jeez, I'm not even close. In a mad world, only the mad are sane. Much better said than what I was trying to do. Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, the little blue star thing was saying that in the Super Mario movie. I just liked it. In a mad world, only the mad are sane, and that's exactly what I was trying to say. So that brings it home, and I think that kind of exemplifies the whole column here. It's just crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff that this is happening in our world. And I love the cartoons, or the comics, the satires. I don't know if I shared that in any of the previous ones, but there it is. Maybe I'll try to start doing that to give the artist some credit. Why have you lost faith in me? I could say the same about just about any public system at this point. Any supposed public service has been determined to be anything but a service. And they're trying to coerce people and have them believe that it's some sort of obligation. Well, I hate to break it to you, but representation is not mandatory. That's not the way it works. According to natural law, one human cannot represent another human without their consent. That's just the way it works. So you have to find another way to try to control people and enslave them, because that ain't gonna work. So that is Absurdity Observer for May 2023. Again, issue number 30, Druthers, Truth, Love, Freedom. I love it. I love this publication. They are awesome. And read the other articles in there. There's some really good ones. I have yet to read them all, but the front page story was great. There's a few other ones. They're all good. You learn something new every time. And it's not always doom and gloom. The reason why it might appear that way is that there's a lot of messed up shit going on in the world. And that's, pointing it out doesn't make you bad. It's a reflection of the way that things are. And it's up to us to change that. We can't just wait for things to get better. You have to actively do what you can, just like I'm doing now. It might not change the world, but it's changing things one small piece at a time. And if we all do that, if we all do our part, what we can, within reasonable limits, right? We don't want to put ourselves out completely, but at the same time, you have to sacrifice some things if you want to see some positive changes in your lifetime. You're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of your time, a little bit of your energy, a little bit of your focus to really sit down and get these things out there. It's the only way. And we have to just continue talking and keep the discussion going. It's the only way. So, thanks for watching. Join me on the next one. We're going to go right into good news tidbits on the May edition of Druthers. And look for that other video that I was talking about that's going to kind of be a bandception, as I said. It's just a silly word that I'm using. But basically, we're gonna get that video out there, because really all I was doing was sharing an article, a column from a publication, right? And the part where I think it banned the video, we'll see. This video here, if it makes it without being banned, then I'll know for sure that I found the area where I need to be more careful and just phrase things differently. That's all. That's all it really comes down to. And like I said, worst case scenario, they shut this channel down. Hope they don't. But if they do, no big deal. There's other platforms out there. There's other ways of getting the message out there. It doesn't have to be social media necessarily. There's all kinds of ways you can affect change in the world. Just the whole point is to just do what you can, where you can, when you can. And that's it. So thanks for watching. See you next time.